Hi guys, and welcome to the Stephen King Sematary Club. Richard Pine is a surgeon who has been stranded on a deserted island, and it's a very tiny island. It's nowhere near the size of Gilligan's Island. He was transporting illegal drugs back to the States. There was a storm and everyone else perished. He was in a lifeboat that got banged up on the way to this deserted island, so now he is stranded. He can't go anywhere. The boat has actually at this point drifted away, and he has a lot of heroin and he has a lot of matches. He's got a logbook that he's writing in. He's keeping a journal, and we drop in on him after he's been ashore for 2 days. He is hungry. There are not really a lot of fish, and there are seagulls, but he has nothing to eat. And he keeps mentioning that he's hungry, or he'll, talk about something and interject something else about food. You can tell it's in the back of his mind, and it is coming out in his writing. And being a surgeon, he asks this question about how much self-inflicted trauma can a body withstand. And he is like cream of the crop surgeon. He thinks that between his skill and his will to live, he can withstand a lot. And we find out he does withstand a lot. So his first entry is the 26th of January, which is 2 days after he was stranded. So he is, like I said, very hungry. He manages to catch a seagull and eat it. He has to eat it raw. He's got nothing to cook it with. He has matches, but he doesn't have any wood. On the 1st of February, I don't know why he didn't make a sign sooner, but he's trying to hail a plane that is flying overhead, and he gets caught his ankle gets caught in a hole or crevice or something, and he snaps it, breaks it. So he is limping around. Almost impossible now to eat seagulls because, catching them is not easy, and now he is at a disadvantage. And the plane passed him by, so he's just screwed. He also hits his head, and he wakes up and he has made a decision. Quote, "I have begun to think I may have to amputate." Page 414. So after no food for 4 days, he decides that if he can get himself to a place using heroin where he is able to kind of disassociate himself from his body, he'll be able to perform the surgery, and his recovery will be better because he's not going to be panicked. He's going to be even-keeled. So he gets high, he amputates his foot, and then he eats it. So he eats his foot raw. Quote, "I was very careful. I washed it thoroughly before I ate it." Page 419. So at this point, he is constantly in a drugged state. He has tons of heroin. He is definitely dipping into that because it helps with the pain, and it helps him, like we were talking about, detach. So he can assess his situation and decide, oh, I think I need to amputate more. He does manage to mortally wound a seagull, and he chases it. The seagull is putting up a good effort. He chases it into the water, and the seagull manages to float out of his reach, and it dies on the water. So all that for nothing. He's so angry. So on the 9th of February, after having missed his seagull opportunity, he amputates his left foot. Some driftwood has washed ashore. It's probably from the boat he escaped on. It is now washing ashore, so he is able to dry out the wood and use it to light a fire. He amputates his leg at the knee and is able to cook his own food himself. He's able to cook his leg and eat it. Then we know that he's just deteriorating because he starts making weird entries. So like the date for this one is FEB ? So February ? He amputates his left leg, he's eating washed up dead fish. He's just so ready to be rescued, and it's not happening. And he keeps eating little bits of himself. He eats his earlobes. He is trying to figure out how much of himself he can cut off, and he has decided that the femoral artery is going to really be a difficult thing to get around because you lose so much blood from there. But you know, how does he tie off his leg so that it doesn't bleed out? It's just the poor guy. He's not gonna make it. We know he's not gonna make it. But he's so determined. The end of this is great. Quote, looked at my face in the water today. Nothing but a skin-covered skull. Am I insane yet? I must be. I'm a monster now, a freak. Nothing left below the groin. Just a freak. A head attached to a torso dragging itself along the sand by the elbows. A crab. A stoned crab. Page 426. The imagery is wonderful. It reminds me of T.S. Eliot's poem about the scuttling claws, and it's so creepy and fascinating and delightful. I love it. So he is, by all intents and purposes, insane. He also probably can't actually have survived this, but he then talks about how he is going to cut off one of his hands. He's going to cut off one of his hands and eat it. He doesn't need both. And you know, you're thinking they're bony. What good is that going to do? And then the end of this, quote, lady fingers. They taste just like lady fingers. Page 426. So he ate his fingers. He ate his fingers. It's so good. I love the story. I love it. It's so absurd, but at the same time, it's a nice thought experiment. Like, you know, what would you do to survive? How far would you be able to, you know, push yourself? I don't know. It's just so good. And it's, you know, the one main character, I really don't have any feelings whatsoever for him. He is kind of a corrupt guy. I do admire his determination to live. I would not have that. As soon as I had to eat something raw, I think I'd be done. And especially if I have to eat my own foot raw, that's it for me. Plus, how much meat is actually on you? Have a spooky day.